Let me thank also for being invited. It's a great pleasure being here. As was said, Stora Enso may be the oldest company in the world. Of course, one should be a little bit careful, but there is a proof. There is a proof origin of a shareholder proof from 1288 on the Swedish branch of Stora Enso. Very, very short, what is, to anyone who may not know about Stora Enso, we are, as said, a leading provider of renewable materials and renewable solutions, working in all areas from packaging, biomaterials to wood construction, but also paper. We have some 26,000 employees in the world, and we have operations in 30 countries. Then, of course, sales broader than that. In 2018, just to give you an idea of the size of our company, our sales reached 10.5 billion euros. The basis for our business is sustainably sourced forests. We heard very good examples from how it is in the Nordics and Sweden and Finland, but also recycled fibers that are utilized for not least the packaging side. So what is it then we do? Well, this has been brought up by several. It's renewable, recyclable, and fossil-free solutions. And this is pretty much in line with what the world needs right now, right? It's the potential answer to some of the challenges that the SDGs points out. And I think this is one part of the story that we as a company and the whole bio-based industry need to underline more. How do we really contribute to solving the issues without saying that everything is super simple, but we shouldn't make it too complicated? If we look at the different areas that we are in, we do, as said, fiber-based packaging that can replace plastics, but it's also packaging that protects food, goods, and drinks, which is of utmost importance for sustainability goals, that we have a safe transportation and safe, sustainable storage of food and beverage, for instance. Wood construction is another important area where the opportunities are big. Building in wood is a great opportunity to decrease the usage of concrete and steel. But then there are also these new areas, like chemicals. We touched upon it before. There is a huge need to replace fossil-based chemicals. And we have launched a couple of examples, and I know there are many players in the room here that knows all of these opportunities as well. So I think focusing on the key aspects that we are actually doing, i.e. renewable, recyclable, and fossil-free solutions, is really important when we talk about it, without making it too simplified, of course. If we look at our operations, we have our bases in Sweden and Finland, as I said, but we have production sites in 10 countries in Europe. Then we have some sites in China and South America where we operate in plantation, with plantation forestry. Sustainability is always essential for how we source our forests. That is absolutely a given. And another perspective on this global approach is that if we look at our research centers, the red small dots, I'm not sure, yeah, you can see them quite well. The red small dots on this map that we have in Finland, Germany, US, and Sweden. If we look at one of them in Sweden, for instance, where we have 100 researchers, perhaps, they come from 15 nationalities. That is the other thing. If we are to be best on this, we cannot only look into Europe. We have to grasp we have to create a very strong environment in Europe that is interesting for the best researchers also outside. And we see that very hands-on in our research center in Stockholm, for instance. We often talk about the forests and all the values that they create, from recreation to the environmental values and biodiversity, absolutely crucial. But what we sometimes forget, and this is what is high on our not least innovation agenda, is that there is solutions. And this is, I think, again, a story that we need to tell more. The forest can be the future skyscraper, or the next generation car, or the wood-based solar panels. It's basically imagination that limits the opportunities, just as was said before. And I think this is also a perspective that we see that within our researchers, but it's also important to talk more about these opportunities to make the industry as such more interesting for the outer world as well. And when talking about innovation, and I think we've touched upon this several times, it's again important to remember that this won't happen in isolation. It won't happen when we or our research team look into themselves and look into the different molecules of a tree, what is actually needed or what can be done. It never happens in isolation. It is always different kinds of cooperations. Could be together within the value chain. There is one example on the slide here where we work together with Husqvarna, which is a known supplier of for instance, for different like lawn movers and that kind of equipment, where we work close to find these new packaging solutions and was awarded most innovative supplier totally for Husqvarna. So within the value chain. Then of course between value chains, the Tree to Textile Partnership that we are engaged in, where we work close with IKEA and H&M to identify the new set of wood-based textiles that could be, as said before, important parts of the all sustainability challenges in the textile industry. And then, of course, also the startups. Being a reasonably big company as ours, working with smaller companies and startups has not always been a given. But I think we have learned so much from that. And Sulapak was mentioned, which is a company that we work with, which they have developed renewable straws, which is one example where you really match between the creativity of a small company, the flexibility, the agility, and then the stronger structures perhaps, and sometimes the resources from a bigger company. And I think this is so important to remind and also to emphasize when future policies develop that innovation will never happen in isolation, and it's not only limited to value chains, it's broader than that. It's also between value chains and big, small players, academia and public and so forth. If we look at for us, as being perhaps one of the world's oldest shareholding companies, we have had to adapt all the time, but I don't think that innovation has been higher on the agenda for us as it is for the time being. As you see, we have a target for 2018 that 9% of our sales should come from new products and services. The long-term target is to reach 15%. And this is also a perspective that our industry has not had the whole time, putting innovation really on top of the agenda. And of course, innovation for sustainability. I would like to share some words also about the Forest-Based Industries 2050 vision that was launched just a couple of weeks ago. And I noted that Elsi Katainen mentioned this as well. And I think this is really one important step and is probably valid for the whole bioeconomy, but that the whole industry goes together and showcase that this is the direction and this is how we see that we can contribute to 2050. Highly valid, hopefully, in the coming new Green Deal, and really showing that this part of the industry wants to be part of this journey. And again, showing that what we do in wood construction is interlinked to what we do in pulp and paper, is interlinked to what we do in bioenergy. So you can't look at them separately either, because it is really a system if you look at the forest-based industry. So if you have not looked into this one, please have a look. Perhaps most of you have. Finally, I think that we have touched upon this, and if we look forward, I sometimes lack the acknowledgement of forests or forestry, sustainable forestry, as a really strategic resource for Europe. I think there is more to do there, because we should remember that forest assets are in Europe, so that we have some kind of environmental and sustainability control around them. Industry is here in Europe, and we are internationally competitive. So there is room to do more in this area, I believe, on a broader scale. Having said that, it's also important to remember that what we do in the industry is relevant for other sectors. It's not primarily the industry as such. We solve also other sectors' challenges, if it's plastic packaging, if it's construction, etc. I would also like to emphasize, it's been touched upon today, that substitution of fossil-based materials, that needs to be in place. We can't look at circular economy policy separately from climate policy. That needs to be interlinked. And finally, on research and innovation, I do not think I need to repeat, but my feeling is that we need to move higher up in the technology readiness level. We need to go closer to the demos and so forth. We need to work across value chain, and we need to make it simple. And one try of making it simple, this is our vision, because the vision topic is obviously here for the whole topic. How can we make the bioeconomy and how can we create the vision? And that is everything that's made with fossil-based materials today can be made from a tree tomorrow.